Friday, everyone. Welcome to Testa and Neal Keep It Real right here on WWSU 106.9 FM or our YouTube channel. However you're hanging out with us, we do appreciate it. I'm Shea Neal, alongside with me, Parker Testa. Parker, man, we promised that our Friday show would deliver, and oh my goodness, is it going to deliver. We have the Horizon League basketball tier list put together, and I am so excited. 30 of the greatest, well, 29, I guess. 29 of the greatest Horizon League basketball players of the last decade, and we're going to rank them 1 to 29.
It's exciting. We've been looking forward to this one all week. Well, really, when you had that idea in the middle of the show the other day. But we've been looking forward to it. Our Friday shows, I tweeted earlier, our Friday shows have been really good all summer long. This one's no different.
No, it is not. I think we've done tier lists throughout the course of the summer, but I don't think it's a super hot take for me to say that unless something goes drastically wrong today, which I don't think it will, I think this one's going to end up being my favorite. I'm a huge Horizon League fan, obviously. I'm a huge basketball fan, obviously. And you're combining, two of my passions here. And with the Horizon League schedule just coming out a couple days ago, this seems like the perfect time to talk about some of the best basketball players that this conference has ever seen.
Right. And this is a fun one. I know you said this is, we don't have a lot of chances to mess this one up. We still have an hour and 58 minutes or something like that to mess something up. But this one's going to be fun for sure.
And if somebody's going to mess something up, it's going to be us. So,
right.
Well, we're joined. Let's not make him wait anymore. We're joined by the Guardian sports reporter, Noah Kindig. You may recognize Noah from the Raiders Sports Podcast that will be coming back this school year as well, by the way. Really fun project we do between the Guardian and WWSU. And with Wright State Sports kicking off, actually, soccer both started. Men started tonight. Women started last night with a draw against Morehead State. Wright State Sports are officially back, so it's really fun. I'm really excited. But Noah, thank you for taking the time to be here. We hope you're as ready to talk Horizon League basketball as we are.
Yeah. Hey, Shay. Hello, Parker. It's good to be back to Wright State, and it's good for Wright State to be back to sports. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to share my screen because people on the YouTube feed are going to want to follow along, obviously. If you want to make your own tier list and let us know your thoughts, I did share the tier list on my Twitter at ESPN Shea Neal. You can click on that, fill it out the way you want to fill it out, and then share it with us, and we're happy to talk about it, your opinion. But this will be our opinion, obviously, and I'm going to start it off, Parker. We're gonna do something a little bit kind of like we did with the ice cream tier list, but we're going to kind of do a pass off where I'll pick the first player we do, then we'll pass it to Parker, we'll pass it to Noah, and so on and so forth. But I want to start off with a kid from Dayton, and he's a kid that just left the Horizon League. I'm talking about Amari Davis. Amari Davis went to Trotwood High School, obviously. He's a very, very good player, and he had 2 really, really good years at Green Bay. So we'll start with Amari. Amari does not have the resume that some of these guys have in this conference, so I don't think I can put him in S or A. I'm actually going to pull up his stats here really quick. But Amari Davis has great explosiveness. He had a much better jump shot than I thought he would have. He averaged last season 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists a game on 42% shooting. His freshman year averaged 16 points a game on 51% shooting. So this is a guy that was an impact player right off the bat. And he's a stud. There's no doubt about it. Amari Davis is about as good as it gets for a young player in this league. So even though I can't put him in S or A because of his resume is just not as strong as some other guys on this list, I think he's very strongly in B tier because of what he offered as a skill set. I know he left the conference after his sophomore year, but I think if this guy played 4 full years in the Horizon League, he'd be an A tier, maybe even S tier caliber player. So B tier is where Amari Davis ends up for me.
I have him in A because I think, even though he doesn't have like you said, the resume that some of these other guys do, I think just the talent is off the charts for Amari Davis, and he's going places.
He's at Missouri.
Yeah, right. So and after Missouri, he may end up in the NBA somewhere. I think he will. So he's A tier for me solidly.
Noah, what do you
I guess I have to be the tiebreaker here. I'm going to go with Shea on this one. I've got him in the B tier. Mainly because of his 35-point game against Wright State that I got to watch live. I didn't get to see a lot of basketball in person this past year, but seeing Amari Davis play in person and put 35 on Wright State, it sucked as a Wright State fan, but as a basketball fan, it was really amazing to see him play and just explode with an amazing jump shot like that. So B tier for me, for Amari Davis, just because he doesn't have the resume that some of these other players have.
We knew he was
Okay,
explosive.
the
We knew
thing-
he was explosive, but I think the jump shot's what really caught me off guard. I did not think he'd be that good of a shooter in college.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
Well, the thing
Especially
that you
'cause he
probably
had-
won't know with Noah is you started out with, because of his 35-point game, he's in B tier. I said, whoa, wait, what? What? But
Remember, he did it against Wright State. I'm biased. Come on.
he
man.
did. But you can be biased, and we're all biased. But yeah, I understand where you guys are coming from with his resume.
Yeah, and I mean, I think no matter if you put him in A or B, I don't think anyone would put him in C. I think he's too talented for that.
No.
Whether you put him in A or B, I think, if you're a fan of Trotwood Madison High School, you're from the Dayton area, I mean, you got to be through the roof excited for Amari Davis's future because this is one heck of a basketball player.
Yeah. I'm excited to see him head to Missouri State. That's where he's headed, right?
Missouri. He's
State?
going to the SEC.
Oh, he's going straight to the SEC. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck to him in the SEC. I think he'll keep that same explosiveness and that same jump shot.
I do
think
too.
he'll do well
Parker,
there.
we'll let you pick the next player.
Let's get this out of the way, guys. I think we all know who is the first player in S tier, and that's Antoine Davis.
Amen.
Yes, put my boy in S tier.
He's in S tier, of course. Even though Detroit Mercy hasn't won a Horizon League title, Antoine Davis is the best player in this conference by miles and miles.
Yeah.
He's the only player out of the 29 greats that we have on this list. He's the only player with 2,000 career points that I saw. There might be another one, but I'm pretty sure because he has 2,040 in 3 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. It's only 3 seasons. He's still got one more year of eligibility.
Yeah.
So.
He has 2,040 points in 3 seasons.
Yeah,
If he's not in S tier, I don't know who is.
Right. It's very, very possible that Antoine Davis finishes his career as the all-time leading scorer in Horizon League basketball history. And that's ridiculous. I'm totally with you, Parker, and you, Noah. I mean, this is a guy that's just an absolute cold-blooded assassin. 26 points as a freshman, 24 as a sophomore, 23 as a junior, but his passing numbers went up, his leadership went up, and the success of the Detroit Mercy Titans has gotten more and more over his 3 years at Detroit. This is a guy that he's still the most lethal scorer in this conference, but he's also brought more skill to the table. He's a great slasher. He's gotten better as a defender. He can now, run the offense and be a floor general. And when you really need him on a night where nothing else is working, if you remember the tournament last year, he can also drop 48, a Horizon League tournament record, and be, maybe the scariest basketball player on the planet for a 2-hour stretch.
He can be, and the guy's lethal. We sit here and we watch. We watch Tanner Holden. We watch Grant Basiley. We watch these guys at Wright State, and they're all great players. But going home after a Wright State game and turning on whoever the heck Detroit Mercy is playing, and Detroit Mercy, watching Antoine Davis do what he does, I'm just blown away because the dude's unbelievable. He's unbelievably talented.
He's must-watch TV. And I think that, Detroit Mercy is really lucky to have this kid, not just because of how good he is, but because Detroit Mercy's been kind of a middle-of-the-pack team for the last decade or so. As long as you have Antoine Davis on this roster, I don't care if you're playing Wright State, Milwaukee, Northern Kentucky, any game that Antoine Davis is on the floor, Detroit Mercy has a good chance of winning.
They do. And this is, I mean, they're going to have a shot anywhere with any, I think if any team in the entire NCAA had Antoine Davis on their roster, they have a shot to win than, most people in this, entire sport of college basketball because the guy's just damn good.
Noah, we'll let you pick your first player. Who's up next?
I think we'll do our first Raider. Let's go a personal favorite of mine, Grant Basiley.
Grant Basiley. Okay. So Basiley, this one is going to be tough for me. I think where he ended last season, he's very comfortably in B tier for me, talent-wise. I think, and I think that could be A tier by the end of this year. I think he's one of my 3 or 4 favorites to be Horizon League Player of the Year this year. But I will say Grant Basiley only averaged 4 points a game as a true freshman, and he only started about halfway through his sophomore year. So compared to some of these other forwards that are on this list, like Naz Bohannon, like Drew McDonald, like Dantez Walton, like some of these other guys we're going to talk about, Loudon Love, he's not even the best Wright State center we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to put Grant Basiley in C tier. I don't want that to sound like I think he's a C-tier basketball player. I just think when you compare him to some of these other guys, the legends of Horizon League basketball, he's just not quite a legend yet. He's a strong player that's competing with some of the greats that this conference has ever had.
Through 3 players, my list is the same as Shea's. I have Grant Basiley in C tier as well, mainly for the same reasons. He had a really great end of his sophomore year for us at Wright State, but starting as a true freshman, he did only average 4 points, and we really only started to see him shine when Wright State started playing this kind of 2 people in the paint strategy. Near the end of his sophomore year, he started to gain more confidence and played really well. And I think over the next couple of years, we'll see him go into a B tier, A tier player. But for now, he is soundly in the C tier.
I'm totally with you. I think by the end of this year, he'll be in B tier pretty easily. And I could totally see by the end of his senior year, him being in A tier. I think Grant has that kind of talent. Just right now, he's not quite there yet.
He does. And I think what we saw a lot last year is, he kind of came on as the season went on to where he struggled early on, but as you get further into the year, he got better. And I think the series where that switch flipped was IUPUI. He, just dominated that series really in Indianapolis. So Basiley's a talented player for sure. I have him in C tier also because he still has 2 or 3 years still left of eligibility to do whatever he is, the sky's the limit for Grant Basiley in these next 2 or 3 seasons for him. I think he's going to do great things.
I do too. I'm excited to see what he does. I mean, it's with Loudon Love not coming back, starting this year, guys, it's the Tanner Holden and Grant Basiley show. And I still think that's a really dang good basketball team. But, Loudon Love left and just gave Grant Basiley the keys to the Ferrari and said, all right, don't scratch it up, kids. So here we go. We're going to see what Grant Basiley is able to do as the star of the Wright State Raiders. But I think it'll be good things. But I'm excited to see it coming up in October. I'm going to pick Bryn Forbes as my next player. The former Cleveland State Viking ended up transferring to Michigan State and now has had a very long and successful NBA career with the Spurs and Bucks. Actually, just won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks. But Bryn Forbes in college did really, really good in his 2 seasons at Cleveland State. Averaged 13 as a true freshman on 48% shooting, along with, a 4 rebound, 1 assist per game. He's always been a great 3-point shooter. His sophomore year, though, is when he got put on the map. 16 points per game, 45% from the field, 42% from downtown, 83% from the line, 3 rebounds, 2 assists a game. And he was Horizon League Player of the Year that year and then ended up transferring to Michigan State. So Bryn Forbes, it's not the best player we're going to talk about today, but he's a guy that took, became a superstar in this league and turned it into a really successful NBA career. So for me, Bryn Forbes is going to be my first player in A tier.
He's a strong player, and I like the way he played with, when he was in the Horizon League. He's certainly talented in the NBA, of course, like you said, just won a championship. He was solid when he was in the Horizon League, and then of course was good enough to go to the Big Ten in Michigan State and play for Coach Izzo. So he's another A tier guy for me.
This is the first time I disagree with you guys. It's a very, very slim disagreement, though. I have him in the bottom of S tier, mainly because of he's won an NBA championship. Yeah. Off the bench, he was a great 3-point shooter for both Milwaukee and for the Spurs in his NBA career. He's a Horizon League player that has had a really great NBA career. That's why I have him at bottom of S, but I get why you guys have him in A.
No, I think that's very fair. I mean, I talked about it with Parker on yesterday's show. I said, how am I, 2 guys that I've been thinking about, Tanner Holden versus Grant Benzinger, comparing these 2 guys. I think Tanner Holden's the better basketball player, but Grant Basiley has a championship, and that's something you really have to hold into consideration. So I totally understand where you're coming from there, and I think an NBA championship is a huge milestone for an Horizon League alum, so I'm totally okay with that.
And Noah, one thing that you'll come to notice on this show is I'm a very harsh grader.
Okay. I'm not very harsh at all. I feel like I put a couple too many people in the S tier.
Right, that's what I've seen early on with this. So I'm more of a harsh grader. Shea is middle pack. He's back and forth on stuff, but Noah's a pretty he gives a lot of leeway here. I'm okay with it.
I think it's because I'm not the biggest guy, and I think all of these people could beat me up very easily. So I think I kind of put it. I think I put them everybody a little bit higher just for that reason.
An interesting strategy that you put the biggest guy in C tier, though. And the one that's closest to you at Wright State.
Hey, I gave him some very nice compliments.
Yeah, you did. You did. I don't think anybody can be mad with what you've said so far. But Parker, we'll pass it to you. Who's your second player?
My second guy today is going to be Tayjon Lucas with Milwaukee.
Tayjon Lucas.
I really like this guy. He is one of the guys that took over in that quarterfinal game, against Wright State. I hate to bring it up because it's heartbreaking, but he really took over and just dominated that second half. Milwaukee doesn't have it's going to be a similar situation to Amari Davis. I think Tayjon Lucas is similar. I'm going to put him in B tier because he doesn't have that resume, but I still think he's a strong player.
He definitely is. I really like Tayjon Lucas as a player as well. I really like. It sucks how that game went last year, but I really think both of those guys on Milwaukee are great players. Obviously, Tayjon Lucas no longer there, but this year Pat Baldwin Jr. and DeAndre Golston is going to be a nasty duo. Parker, we think they're championship contenders. I think it's pretty obvious that they're championship contenders. Pat Baldwin Jr. is going to go to the NBA, and DeAndre Golston is one of the most lethal scorers in this conference. So I think Milwaukee's got a really good thing going. Tayjon Lucas, though, definitely one of the better guards in the history of the Milwaukee Panthers. He put this program on the map in a lot of ways. Last season averaged 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Field goal percentage, not great, 39%, but this is a guy that, does the little things for this Panther team. And he had 25 points, 5 assists against that in that game against Wright State in 40. And this was a guy that played, Parker, his last 5 games of the year, 39 minutes, 49 minutes, 40, 36, and 38. This is a guy that just does not come off the floor. He's the leader. He's the heart and soul of this Panthers program over the last 4 years. I'm very, very happy, and I agree with you that I think he's a very solid B.
I also have Tayjon Lucas in the bottom of the B tier, mainly because the way that he played against Wright State, we didn't see that throughout the entire season and throughout the previous years, but definitely in B tier because of his performances against Wright State. And also, he's headed to BYU now, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So best of luck to him at BYU.
Yeah, I'll be watching some BYU Cougar basketball for sure. All right, Noah, we pass it to you. Who's your second pick?
Let's go with Jaylen Moore.
Jaylen Moore. You really like this kid.
I do.
Well, we'll let you pick first. Where'd you have him?
Even though I do really like him, I don't have him in S. I have him in A.
Okay. Jaylen Moore. Jaylen Moore put the, he took the conference over last year for a big stretch. I'm a really, really big fan of this kid. Parker actually started his career at Olney Community College, so he transferred in to Oakland, and boy, did he take the Horizon League over last year. This guy had 18 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists a game, 5'11", 155. He's not the biggest dude in the world, but his first season of Division I college basketball, and he was just dominant. That game, that loss to Milwaukee late in the year that I remember in double overtime, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 15 assists. This is a guy that wasn't the best shooter, but he made an impact every single night. And that second half of the year, Oakland really caught fire, and it was a lot because of Jaylen Moore. So I'd personally have him in B, but I totally am okay with I'm totally fine with the A pick. He has that kind of talent.
Yeah, he does. I have him in B as well. I think he's a talented player for sure. Oakland just hasn't won very much. Let's be honest. And they caught fire late, and they caught fire when they needed to late in the year with going into the Horizon League tournament. They made it to the championship game. But Jaylen Moore's certainly talented. He's just B tier for me.
All right,
I will say the biggest reason I have him in A, and I don't know if you guys know this, is his first year at Oakland, he led the country in assists per game. That's all I'm going to say.
That's very valid. No doubt about it. That's very, very valid. My next pick, guys, is going to be a guy that I'm going to very confidently and very comfortably instantly slide up to S tier. And it's a guy that's turned on in the NBA. Kendrick Nunn with the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. This guy played 3 years at Illinois, transferred to Oakland for his senior season, but oh my goodness, did he light the conference on fire. 38 minutes a game. He averaged 26 points per game, which was second in all of college basketball in that season. He was just dominant. He also averaged 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals a game as well. Shot 49% from the field, 39% from 3, and 84% at the line. This guy just lit it up night after night. I told you guys before we started recording, my first, jaw-dropping moment of my broadcasting career. Wright State actually did a really good job defending Kendrick Nunn when he came to the Netter Center. He only had like 9 points at halftime, but Oakland was down by 2. He just comes up the floor with like 6 seconds left. He had really struggled all half, pulls up from the logo just inside half court, nothing but net, with a really good defender, Mark Hughes, in his face. So as soon as he hit that shot, I just turned to Blake Sutherland, who I was doing the game with, and I said, well, Blake, that's why that's why Kendrick Nunn is dangerous. And he's going to go in S tier for me. He only played 1 year in the Horizon League, but he's been a really good NBA guard, and he was the best player without a doubt in the Horizon League that year.
You don't even have to go to the NBA for me. All you have to do is say 26 points a game, and he's in the middle of S tier. That's all you got to do. And on top of it, he's a great NBA guard, like you said. So put him in there.
What they said. He's certainly talented. He's lit up the NBA like you guys are saying. At Oakland, like Noah said, 26 points a game at Oakland. Unbelievable numbers. He's S tier also.
And I mean, something I'm excited for Kendrick. He just, his contract with the Heat just expired. He just signed he averaged 15 points per game, by the way, his last 2 years in the NBA. So this is a guy, like we said, really good in the NBA. But he just signed a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. So we're going to see him go team up with the GM. So exciting times for Kendrick Nunn. He gets a chance to, play with the Lake Show and go for championships, which I'm happy for him. Hearing this opportunity.
Did you just call LeBron Le GM?
I did, because they signed like 9 guys in free agency, and Lord knows that wasn't Rob Pelinka.
All right.
That wasn't Pelinka, Parker. That was LeBron James.
I do know that, but I wasn't going to call him out for it.
All right, Parker, the floor is yours. Who's your next pick?
Let's go with...
We haven't done a Northern Kentucky player yet. Maybe that's a good thing, but
I have a tier below D tier that just says NKU.
Yeah, see, we added a tier below D that says Northern Kentucky alum.
Yeah, I just have an NKU tier.
I love it.
Speaking of, we're going to go with Tyler Sharp.
Oh, God. That might be my most hated NKU player of all time. Anybody but Tyler Sharp. I like Jalen Tate. I like Drew McDonald. I'm okay with Dantez Walton. I like watching Marquez Wart. Tyler Sharp's the one dude I can't stand. But I will say that there's a story that came out that he lost a year of eligibility because he played 8 minutes at Louisville, and they counted that as a year of eligibility, and NCAA wouldn't give him it back. And basically NKU wrote a story about how he got screwed by the NCAA. And I quote tweeted that. And I said, look, I don't like the kid, but he was getting screwed by the NCAA. And he and his mom did like that tweet. So even though Tyler Sharp and I don't get along, it's not complete war. It's just a strong dislike.
Yeah. I mean, but he's talented.
He's
really.
Good
I have him in A tier. I do. Shay, I know you don't like him. But it's time to get over your bitterness,
oh my Lord.
Towards Tyler Sharp. I have him in A tier. He is so talented. 27, career, average 27 over his career. And then in that 2019-2020 season, averaged 30, almost 35 points a game. The guy just balls out, and he's solid A tier for me.
You made a lot of good points. He's a really good player. As much as I don't like him, he's one of the best shooters in the history of the Horizon League. He is probably the best shooter in the history of Northern Kentucky. He had the bow and arrow celebration whenever he hit a 3. I can't stand that, but, it was a cool celebration. I'll give that to him. He's in B tier for me. He's towards the top of B tier, but I'll tell you why he's not in A. Because on national television, he got a steal, had a breakaway, nobody on him, missed a dunk, got rim stuffed, and it became a meme because of it. And Barstool Raiders, our good friends on Twitter, Barstool Raiders, tweeted that video and said, no, I swear I can dunk, bro. Hang on. And so that's why he ends up in B tier for me. He'd be in A tier if he could dunk.
You put him a tier below because he can't dunk.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Why?
not because he can't dunk, because he proved to the world that he can't dunk on national TV. On national TV.
Parker, have you not seen this play?
I have.
There's going to be secondhand embarrassment. Tyler Sharp got Tyler stuffed by a piece of plastic.
Oh, my. You need to quit with these stupid puns.
It's our last.
Oh,
Lord. It's like one of our last 4 shows. You can deal with it until next week.
We'll see.
All right, Noah, what are your thoughts on Tyler Sharp?
I mean, I have him below D. I already said this, but if I have to pick a tier, I'll put him in A. I'll go with Parker on this one. Even though he did get denied on national TV, he did play some great games for NKU. Puke. I guess we can put him in A tier for his career stats and seasons.
I've got 2 guys that went to Northern Kentucky. I have one in S and one in A. So it's not like I'm dissing the Norse. I just think you should be able to dunk when there's nobody on you. Noah, here's your next pick.
I'll do another Raider. I'll do Tanner Holden.
Tanner Holden. All right. Tanner Holden. This is a tough one for me. I want to put him in A very, very badly. I think he's very, very close to A talent-wise. But I'm going to pump the brakes just a little bit, and I'm going to keep him in B. He's going to be towards the top of B. I'm going to put him right behind Sharp. Very, very talented player. I think he's a dark horse candidate for Horizon League Player of the Year this year. And I think everyone's talking about Basiley, and I think Basiley is going to be really good. I think Tanner Holden's going to be the best player on this basketball team. The thing that keeps him out of A for me is the lack of a Player of the Year, the lack of a Horizon League championship, the lack of the 25-point games.
He was second team this year?
He was all
right?
conference.
Second or first?
Let me double check that.
It was either Love and Holden were in first.
I think he was
Holden
first.
And Basiley were in second.
Basiley was second. You were right. He was first.
Basiley was second, and I think it might have been Holden and Love in first.
Yeah, so Tanner averaged 16 and 7 a game last year, which is obviously very, very good. I think, though, that he's still 1 year away from being put in that A tier for me. Doesn't have a ring and doesn't have that Horizon League Player of the Year accolade for me to kind of put him among the best of the best. Tanner Holden's a really good basketball player. I think he's an A tier talent-wise, but his resume keeps him in B+.
I think it's a similar story to Grant Basiley on Wright State as well. Like Shea said, where he doesn't have exactly the resume yet to put him in A tier or S tier, but in 1 year, I think we'll see him there easily.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, and for me, he's in B tier as well. He's strictly because of his, the resume, and Wright State hasn't been successful in the postseason, since he's been there. So, I think that this is a year where, and I know we say this every year, but I really think this is a year where Wright State can kind of take that next step. And I might be jinxing them. So if that ends up being wrong, I will be blasted on Twitter. I already know that, but I really think that this is the year that Wright State can take that step, and I think Tanner Holden's going to be a huge part of that.
I'm with you. Let's do our next pick, and it's going to be for me, Sandy Cohen III, the former stud at Green Bay. This guy was really, really good. A 6'5" point guard. He's playing in the Israeli league right now, but this was a guy that was just absolutely fantastic. In college. His senior season averaged 17, 6, and 5 on almost 50% shooting. He averaged 16, 6, and 3. His junior year, this was a guy that, Green Bay played. This was so Sandy Cohen's senior year was the year that Wright State won the championship. They played Green Bay in the semifinals. Wright State won that game by 12 points. They would have won that game by 35 points if Sandy Cohen didn't exist. Green Bay did not play good that night. Sandy Cohen had 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. Dude played his butt off. And if he had a ring, if he had a Player of the Year, he'd be S tier for me. But he's going to be very, very comfortably in A tier, and I'm going to have him even higher than Bryn Forbes. I am a huge Sandy Cohen guy. He was a really, really good player.
I agree with you 100%. The only thing is I've got him on the other side of Bryn Forbes.
That's fair.
He almost made it. He practiced with a couple NBA teams, I thought.
Yeah, I think he played Summer League with the Cavs one year.
Yes, he played Summer League with the Cavs. That sounds right. So he almost made it to the NBA, but he is a pro player right now in the Israeli League, but still a pro player. And because of the games against Wright State and because of his amazing play for Green Bay, I've got him in A tier. Just like you said, no championship, no big accolade. So top of A tier, but still top of A tier.
I have him in A tier also, and I'm with Noah. Bryn Forbes is ahead of him in A tier, but the talent that he has is just unmatched. He was really talented at Green Bay, and like Shea said, he's over in the Israeli league right now, but the guy's just loaded with talent, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him over here in the NBA, soon.
And he's a 6'5" guard. I mean, he's got the size, and I mean, if he keeps putting up numbers like he did in college, like he has so far in the Israeli league, I mean, he's still only, I think, 24 years old, maybe 25. So, I mean, there's still plenty of time for him to get that shot. Parker, the floor is yours.
Well, we're going to go with Torcus Ferguson.
Good pick.
And I like this guy a lot. He is a insanely talented player. Of course, went to UIC. Was really talented with with the Flames. Of course, he finished 6th in scoring in UIC history with like 1,650 points or something like that. Some crazy number, of that sort. So the guy was just insanely talented. He averaged 33 points over the course of his career, at UIC. In his junior season, averaged 36. The guy was unbelievable. He's A tier for me.
Yeah, no, he's a good player, no doubt about it. He was a great defender. His senior season averaged 14, 6, and 5. And that senior season for him and another guy on this list, Marcus Oddie, they beat Wright State in the semifinals. And they didn't just beat Wright State, they beat the crap out of Wright State. If this wasn't radio, I'd say something other than crap because it was that bad. Wright State got their you-know-what stomped. But I think Ferguson and Oddie are both, legends at UIC. I personally think Ferguson was better than Oddie, and we'll get into that when we get into Oddie. But I think Torcus Ferguson, just a perfect example of the 3-and-D guy in the modern college basketball. He's going to be really solidly in B tier for me. I'm even going to have him over guys like, Holden, Amari. Here, I'm going to reorder this for me. I'm going to put T-John right behind Ferguson. I'm going to kind of go with the alum over the current guys because I just think the alum have proven a little bit more. But for me, Torcus is second in my B tier, only behind Tyler Sharp.
For me, I've got him in A tier, and I've got him pretty high A tier, and I want to make an argument for why. Antoine Davis has 2,000 points in his entire career. I'm not saying Torcus would have had more or anything like that. What I am saying is when you have Oddie on the same team as Ferguson and when you have shooters on the same team as Torcus Ferguson that are as good as UIC had, that will dwindle the points a little bit. I think that he's a fantastic shooter. I don't think he's at the level of Antoine Davis, but I think he's slightly below in A tier.
I mean, anytime you're in the same conversation as Antoine Davis, you're doing something right because, Antoine Davis still has one more year. Like I said, he could easily end his career as the all-time leading scorer in Horizon League history. There's been so many good players in this conference, a lot of them on this list. Some guys that haven't been on, that aren't on this list that we haven't talked about, Gordon Hayward, Vitaly Potapenko, Matt Howard. There's a lot of great guys in the history of the Horizon League. It's crazy to say, but one more solid year, Antoine Davis is in the GOAT discussion for the Horizon League. He could end up being the greatest player this conference has ever seen. He's like the little, he's the little baby line from Wants and Needs. I'm not the GOAT, but I fit the description. Parker, I know that made you sad.
He looks so disappointed.
Don't start.
Disappointed.
He looks so disappointed.
All right, Parker, you picked Torcus, so we're on to Noah.
Let's do the other UIC player. Let's do Marcus Oddie.
Marcus Oddie. Okay, Marcus Oddie is not as good as Torcus Ferguson.
Yes, I agree. I have him. So because I had Ferguson in A, I also had Oddie in A right next to Ferguson.
Okay. I am a little bit, I think, harsher than Noah is. Because I have Ferguson at the top of B, I have Oddie at the top of C. Now, I think Oddie was a very solid player. Don't get me wrong. Marcus Adi was, one of the better players in the recent history of UIC. But the difference is Ferguson could slash, Ferguson could shoot, Ferguson could defend, Ferguson could run plays. Adi was basically a passer or a slasher. He couldn't shoot very well. He wasn't as good of a defender. So I just think everything that Adi did okay, Ferguson did great. And that's the difference. Ferguson, for me, above average, well, very solidly in B, top of B. Adi's top of C. But when you stack him up against some of the other legends of the last decade of Horizon League basketball, he's just barely clinging on to above average.
Yeah, I'm with Shea on this one. I have him, you may have him at the top of C. I have him at the top of B. He was a great player for USC. Don't get me wrong. He's an insanely talented player. But over the course of his career, averaged 12.8 points a game. He ended up finishing his career with over 1,500 points at UIC. And then in his junior season, averaged almost 15 points a game. So the guy was a great player. Don't get me wrong, but like you guys said, he wasn't as great as Torcus was.
No, he wasn't. All right, guys, we're gonna go back to Highland Heights, and I know insert gags here. Highland Heights, gross. But we're gonna go with a guy that I really, really like the way he plays, and he played 3 years with the NKU Norse, and then transferred to Arkansas for his senior year and made the Elite Eight with the Arkansas Razorbacks. I'm talking about Jaylen Tate. Jaylen Tate is just an unbelievable basketball player, and he's a guy that I respect a lot. His senior season with Arkansas averaged 11, 4, and 4, but at NKU, 14, 5, and 4. Great defender. He was all-conference defensive team, actually won a Defensive Player of the Year as well. This was a guy that, in my opinion, every time we played NKU, Wright State fans talked about slowing down Sharp, slowing down Walton, slowing down Mcdonald, who we'll get to a little bit later. I was always worried about slowing down Jaylen Tate. This was a guy that could slow down Wright State's best player. This was a guy that could shoot the ball. This was a guy that could slash. This was a guy that could pass. This was a guy, he could do anything, and he's a 6'8" point guard. So, he was just a matchup nightmare. Jaylen Tate, for me, not in S tier because he didn't finish his career in the Horizon League, but a champion, a Defensive Player of the Year, an all-conference caliber player. Jaylen Tate, without a doubt, in my opinion, is going to be very easily in A tier. I'm actually going to put him at the top of A tier.
I'm with you here. Jaylen Tate, is certainly one of the more talented players that.
I'm sorry, I picked the wrong Norse player. That's Marquez Ward. Jaylen Tate is in A tier. My bad.
But yeah, like you said, I think he's one of the more talented players that the Horizon League has seen in the last, however many years. The guy was really good. He was good enough to transfer to Arkansas. So he averaged in his last year at NKU, he averaged almost 14 points a game with almost 2 steals per game, as well as 5.4 rebounds a game. So the guy was really good in over the whole course of his career at NKU, but especially in that last year. He's 18 for me also.
And that 14 points a game doesn't seem as impressive as it actually is. This guy shared the court with Dantez Walton and Tyler Sharp, 2 guys that averaged almost 20 points a game that year. So he was the 3rd best scorer on this team, and he still almost put up 15 points a game. That just tells you how good he was. He was just, we talk about 5-tool players in baseball, Parker. Jaylen Tate was a 5-tool player in basketball. He could defend, he could pass, he could rebound, he could shoot, he could slash. Anything that, Northern Kentucky and before he went to Cincinnati, of course, John Brannon, anything that he needed Jaylen Tate to do, Jaylen Tate could do, and he could do it at a high level.
Yeah. I love me an all-around player. I've got a couple all-around players in S tier, and I'm sure we'll get to that later. But for now, I'm with you guys. Jaylen Tate, I have a mid-high A tier, mainly because he could do anything you needed him to do easily.
And, dude was a winner. NKU, it's no surprise. It's no secret that NKU played their best basketball when Jaylen Tate was on the court. And dude's a winner. And I know NKU considers Drew McDonald their best player of all time. And, he's going to be I'm going to spoil it. He's going to be my highest ranked NKU player on this list. But Jaylen Tate had more skill than Drew McDonald did. Drew McDonald has a better resume. But if you're talking about the last 10, 15 years of Northern Kentucky basketball, Jaylen Tate's the best player they've had.
He is. It's I don't think there's a debate on how talented he is. He's one of the more talented players that the Horizon League has ever seen, like I said. But Arkansas doing great things as well.
No doubt about it. Parker, what is your next pick? We haven't done a Raider in a while. You want to pick a Raider?
Bill Wampler.
Let's
do Bill Wampler.
All right. Bill Wampler. Bill Wampler follows me on Instagram and Twitter, so he might get mad at me for saying He might get mad at me for saying this, gang. I think he's a slightly worse 3-and-D Torcus Ferguson. Slightly worse. So because of where I have Torcus at the top of B, I'm going to have Bill Wampler in mid-B. I'm going to put him behind Lucas, but he's going to be ahead of Holden, Amari, and Jaylen Moore for me. Bill Wampler was one heck of a scorer. He was also a really underrated defender for a guy of his size, and he's a great leader and a great dude. I mean, I had him on my show a couple times. He's been on the Horizon Roundtable. He's been on the podcast, Reach the Horizon podcast. Really good dude, and a really good basketball player. But for me, just a slight little tick below Torcus Ferguson, so he's going to be in mid-B for me.
I have him in B as well. He did great things when he was at Wright State, averaged just over 15 points a game in 2 seasons. But the like you said, a slightly worse 3-and-D player compared to Torcus Ferguson. He's in B, probably similar to where you have him, Shea, in the middle of B.
All right, what are your thoughts, Noah?
I'll go with the exact same as you guys. I had him top of C, but you said he's been on your show, so we'll bump him up to B.
He's a good dude.
He's a good dude.
He spent 8 minutes talking about his pregame shampoo routine for his hair because obviously,
really?
He has some of the best hair.
I will say, if this was a hair tier list, he'd be an S.
I was gonna say
he's
B
got some
tier
great
player,
hair.
S tier hair. So
yes.
He spent like 8 minutes talking about his pregame hair routine, and I mean, I think it was worth the entirety of the segment because I learned a lot about hair care that day.
Oh.
All right. Well, Noah, the floor is yours. Who's your next pick?
We're going to go with the 1,000-point, 1,000-rebound player, Naz Bohannon.
Naz Bohannon. That's a great pick. I'm a huge Naz Bohannon fan. I don't know what I want to do with Naz. He's really good. He didn't really have a jump shot until his senior season. But he had a really good jump shot his senior season, and he made the play that beat Wright State at the buzzer, Parker, that game that we were at. Or no, that was me and Christian that night. But I think you remember the game I was talking about. But
right.
Naz is going to go in B for me. I'm going to put him right here ahead of Te'Jon Lucas. I think Te'Jon Lucas is a legend at Milwaukee, and this is going to sound really weird for me to say. But I think Naz Bohannon was more important to Youngstown State than Te'Jon Lucas was to Milwaukee. And I think that's just because Youngstown State had more success. So for me, Naz gets a slight bump over Te'Jon Lucas. I still can't put him over Sharp or Ferguson, though.
Yeah, it's interesting for me. I like Naz. I do.
He's a really good player.
Yeah. I'm going to have him in B as well. I'll have him in between.
This is when it's starting to get hard, gentlemen.
Yeah.
It is. I'll have him in between Holden and Te'Jon.
All right. Wait, you said between who, Womp and Te'Jon?
Well, your list is different than mine. I have him in between Tanner Holden and Te'Jon.
Oh, okay. But you still have him, is that mid-B or high B?
It's mid-B.
Mid-B, okay. So we're pretty similar in that regard. Noah, what are your thoughts on the 1,000 man Naz Bohannon?
Man, I grade way too nicely compared to you guys. Man, I've got him near mid bottom A because he's 1,000. 1,000 rebounds in a career is B tier. Come on, guys.
I held back. I am a huge Naz Bohannon fan, but there's another guy that went to Youngstown State that's on this list that I'm going to put in A tier. And
all right,
I don't think it was fair to the other guy to put Naz in the same tier as him.
That's fair. That's fair. But I've got him at bottom of A, 1,000. He's headed to Clemson.
Yeah, and he's going to do great things for Brad Brunell.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's talk about the other Youngstown guy who they have an A tier. Darius Quisenberry went to Wayne High School in the Dayton area, of course. Quiz is a great Dayton area kid, and he's a great basketball player. He averaged last season 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. That was not his best season, but his sophomore season averaged 17, 4, and 5, and he's now on his way. Where did he end up going? I'm sorry. Fordham is where Quisenberry is headed now in the Atlantic 10. Quisenberry, I know the numbers last year don't necessarily back it up, but this was a guy that when he was on his game, he just screamed Horizon League Player of the Year. He did. And Parker, I don't know if you remember, but Youngstown State was one of the 3 worst teams in the conference last year while Quisenberry was out. When he came back, they ended the year like 11-2. It just tells you how much.
I remember.
It tells you how much he meant to that program. He is such a good basketball player, an elite leader. He didn't spend a full career there at Youngstown State, but he is a solid A-tier player for me. I am a big fan of Darius Quisenberry.
I am too. He's A-tier for me as well. I really, really like the way Quisenberry plays. He's talented. He's 15, almost 15, career points average. He's insanely talented. Like you said, just brings, his team to another level. And I really love, the way the guy plays. He only played in 15 games. He spent most of the season, out, but insanely talented when he is on the floor. He had a bit of a down year this past season compared to the previous year, but I love Darius Quisenberry. He's solid A-tier for me.
I had both the Youngstown State players in A, Darius Quisenberry above Naz Bohannon, of course. The 15 games that we got to see, we didn't get to see him much this year, but what we did get to see was really amazing to watch and really, really great basketball.
Yeah. And I mean, the stats may be more B tier, but I'll tell you what, I mean, I think there's a part of this ranking that it's just, you hear it all the time when you talk about football, basketball, baseball, whatever sport. There's a big difference between what shows up in the box score and what you see on the floor. And that's just Darius Quisenberry is a dictionary definition of that for me. His stats are impressive, but they're not, game changing. But what he does on the court, Youngstown State looks like maybe the worst team in the league when he's not out there, and they look like a top 3 team when he is out there. I mean, we talked about it, Parker, last year, with Antoine Davis at Detroit, with Northern Kentucky, with Green Bay, with, Cleveland State, all these teams that should have been more of threats to Wright State down the home stretch. What were we talking about the last week or 2 of that regular season, Parker? The team I don't want to run into right now is Youngstown State. Naz Bohannon and Darius Quisenberry, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, who does? This is a scary team when they're healthy. Of course we don't know what they're going to look like this season, losing both Bohannon and Quisenberry, but I still think they're going to be a talented team for sure. They look real. The Youngstown State Penguins, aren't going to be a team that you want to count out. I know Shea and I talked about Horizon League basketball on Wednesday, and we said every single team in this conference is capable of making the Horizon League tournament. Absolutely.
And I mean, I think that, they don't have Quisenberry this year. They don't have Bohannon this year, but they're really well coached. If you watch this Youngstown State team play, they're very smart. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and they just play really hard, scrappy basketball. So as long as, as long as they keep that philosophy that they've had for years, I don't really think it matters who you throw out there. I think they'll find ways to succeed. I mean, this sounds a little weird because Cleveland State was really bad for a really long time, but the way that Cleveland State plays right now, I think Youngstown State's kind of like, Cleveland State light. They're like diet Cleveland State.
Noah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll agree with you guys on this one.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm honestly not sure what else to add. I think Youngstown will be a threat, and they'll play the same scrappy basketball that they always have. But honestly, without Quisenberry and Bohannon, I don't know how much of a threat they'll be. I'm sorry to say that, and that sounds, kind of harsh grading, which isn't usual for me. But I don't know how good Youngstown will be this year, honestly.
Right. I think, I'm with you in a sense. I think they definitely take a step back. I don't think it's a team that I expect to see in the top 5. But we saw last year, especially in the second half of the year, like IPFW and Oakland start to be the teams that were like 7th, 8th, 9th, and they'd start to beat the teams that were in the top 3. That's what I think Youngstown could be this year. I think they're going to finish the year somewhere between like 7th and 10th. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if we get to February and we read one night that Youngstown upset Milwaukee, or Youngstown upset Cleveland State, or
they could be
Youngstown
IPFW.
upsets Wright State. I just think they play that kind of basketball. I think that they're very scrappy. They're very smart. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And if their jump shots are falling, they can beat any team in this league on any given night.
Yeah, or they could be like IPFW in the Horizon League tournament and take, was it Cleveland State? Almost take out Cleveland State.
4 overtimes.
4 overtimes. Oh my God.
What a crazy night that was, right?
Oh
State,
my God.
Wright State blew a 25-point lead. Northern Kentucky beat Detroit at the buzzer. Cleveland State and IPFW went 4 overtimes, and Youngstown State and Oakland also went to overtime.
Yeah.
What a night.
Yeah.
All right. Well, who picked who was the one that just picked that last one?
I thought you picked Quisenberry.
I did pick Quisenberry, so it's on to you, Parker.
Yeah.
Marcus Burke, our first IUPUI Jaguar.
All right.
And Marcus Burke, before you make your analysis, Parker, I will say that Marcus Burke deserves a little bit of applause from us here on the show. Just had a workout with the Oklahoma City Thunder. We love to see Horizon League guys trying to get to the league.
Absolutely.
So for me, Marcus Burke is really talented, and he was in a bright spot for an IUPUI team that honestly wasn't the greatest. But career at IUPUI put up 21 points, our game, and he averaged, right around 21.5 points in both seasons, each of his 2 seasons at IUPUI. He's a solid B tier guy for me. He gave the IUPUI chances to win every game they played in, but the resume that that IUPUI had wasn't a great one. So a great player just couldn't really do a whole lot of winning in his time at IUPUI.
Yeah, I think he's a great scorer, like you said, Parker. My thing is I'm going to put him at the bottom of B, because I think he's a little more one-dimensional than some of these other guys that we have in B. He's not a great passer of the basketball. He's not as great of a defender as some other guys in B tier, like Torcus Ferguson, like Naz Bohannon, like Amari Davis. He's a scorer, and he's one of the best scorers the Horizon League's seen in the last 5 years. But that's really all he is a scorer. So I still think he's a very above-average player, a very solid player. But I'm putting him at the bottom of B tier just because I don't think when it's all said and done, he offers as much as some of these other guys.
Yeah, I've got him at bottom of B tier, high C tier. Same thing you said, Shay. He's not an all-around player that you like to see. He's a scorer, but at the end of the day, there are so many scorers that just have more points than Marcus Burke does over the course of his career. But he was the bright spot. Him and Jalen Minnett were the 2 kind of bright spots of an IUPUI team that struggled a little bit this year.
All right, the floor is yours, Noah.
Let's talk about that 25-point comeback. Let's do DeAndre Golston, the guy who scored the most against Wright State this year. 70 points against the Raiders in 1 year.
DeAndre Golston was a freaking bucket in that second.
29, 20, and 31 points in 3 games.
DeAndre Golston was a bucket in the second half of that game last year.
We played 3 games. We played 3 games against Golston, and we could not shut him down in any 3 of those games. We could not deal with him.
He was great. And I know he had 31 points in that game against Wright State. I think he had like 6 at halftime.
Yes.
He had like 25 in the second half in overtime. He was ridiculous. He took over that game. And DeAndre Golston's a really, really good player. 6'5", great size, a great shooter, shoots 80% from the free throw line, almost 40% from 3, 45% from the field, averaged about 17 points per game, along with 5 rebounds. He's not really a passer, but he's more of a wing guy. I like him. I like him a lot. I like him more than Burke for sure. I think I like him more. Oh, no. I don't know if I like him more than Jaylen Moore.
Really? Okay.
It's close. I'm going to put him for now. I'm going to put him here because I think Moore is a better facilitator of the basketball. But DeAndre Golston is really, really good, and this is starting to get really, really hard. And I'm putting a lot of really, really good guys at the bottom of B, and I don't know how I feel about it. Parker, your thoughts?
It's hard to argue with 70 points in 3 games.
It is.
Yeah. against the Wright State defense that was honestly really impressive.
What's sad is he's going to be Robin this year because Pat Baldwin Jr. is going to be Batman.
Right. Yeah. And so this is tough for me. So I have him as a middle of B tier guy. I have him in between Naz Bohannon and Tajon Lucas.
Okay.
Because I think, we've really only seen him for, 1 year. What can he do this season? I'm really excited to see what he does. He averaged almost 17 last year. So if he improves, and don't get me wrong, fantastic shooter. He shot 43% last year. He's, a great shooter of basketball. So he's solidly in B tier, but if he has, continued to has the type of success he did last season, he's going to come up this list.
Time flies when you're having fun, fellas. We're, we only got 4 minutes left here in hour number 1. So we're going to do the final 11 to kick off hour number 2. Parker, I don't like our odds of being able to do Conference USA today. I think we're going to have to do it in studio next week. But I don't really mind that, to be honest with you. I wanted the Horizon League tier list to be the star of the show, and we're having a lot of fun with it, so I can't complain.
We're having fun. Why, I know all good things must come to an end, but why can't we milk it for a little bit longer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we still got a ton of really talented players to get into in hour number 2. Drew Mcdonald, who in my opinion is the greatest Northern Kentucky player of all time. Cole Gentry, Loudon Love, of course. Grant Benzinger, one of the greatest Wright State Raiders of all time as well. Marquez Warwick, Trayvon Faulkner, as well as, Torrey Patton, a Dayton area kid. So a ton of guys to get into. And we got one more NBA guy to get into as well in K. Felder. So, guys, the talent is just getting started here on this Horizon League tier list. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I am too. This has been, a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I thought this would be fun, but I'm having a blast today. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah, happy Friday. Absolutely. Parker, as soon as we're done with the show today, I'm heading to Indy. We're going to have fun this weekend.
We are. We're going to, I don't know if we're going to party, but we're going to have some fun.
We're going to party for, a couple of 20-year-old lame white kids. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Maybe play like FIFA on your mom's couch, drink a Gatorade.
Right.
Party.
Time. Party.
Like 12 years old. Let's go.
Yeah.
Maybe BG will come to Indiana and bring us some chocolate milk.
We can only hope.
Well, gang, that was fun. We still have plenty more to get into. Obviously, we're going to step away for just a few minutes. When we come back, hour number 2. Noah, you're new here, so I'm going to tell you what we do on the recording. Basically, we don't take a break. I just pause the video, and we go to break on the radio. So nothing's going to happen here, but we're going to, if you're listening to this on radio and you're like, oh, my goodness, he explains this every single day. Just shut up and go to break already. Okay, fine, but only because you asked nicely. We're going to step away for just a minute. When we come back, hour number 2. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Keep It Real right here on WWIC 106.9 and our YouTube channel. Parker, I'm feeling good today, baby.
I can tell you're in a much better mood.
You're a little hyper. Yeah.
I'm a little hyper tonight. I'm usually pretty tired by now, but we're recording a little bit earlier, so I still got a little bit of obnoxious day Shea left in me.
Yeah.
That's good. Is the coffee still having an impact?
I haven't had any coffee today. That's what's sad. This is normal me.
This is normal, no coffee. Wow.
This is normal me.
Well, I'm glad you got that energy because we still got, 11 players to go through?
And we got 11 really good players to get
11 really good players to go through.
So I'm going to start it off, fellas, and because I'm the oldest one here and because I have seniority on both of you, I get the right to pick this guy. We're going Loudon Love.
Okay.
And Loudon Love, we're just going to drag this guy up to where he freaking belongs. In S tier, at the top.
Hey, there you go.
Top of S tier. Move, Antoine. No, move, Antoine. Oh my goodness, Antoine doesn't.
He doesn't want to move.
There we go. Okay, Antoine Davis, best scorer this conference has ever seen. I think, no doubt about it. And he might go down as the best player in the history of this conference. But as of right now, the best player in the history of this conference is a little guy by the name of Big Lou. 2 Conference Player of the Year awards, All Defensive Team, Championship. 4 years as a starter, 5 years on the team. This guy was a double-double machine. This guy was a game changer. This guy was the best player on the court for 4 years. He's the GOAT, and he deserves to be at the top of S tier.
He does. He does. And that's why, we all have him at the top of S tier. I hope, and if any of you out there don't have him at the top of S tier, quit listening to the show.
Wow.
This is you can't not put him at the top. And I understand the argument for Antoine Davis, but Antoine Davis still has, playing time left. I mean, at the end of Antoine's career, it's very possible he could be the best player this conference has ever seen. Right now, that's loud and love.
Yeah, I've got him at the top of S tier, and I don't think we need to discuss. With other players, we went through stats, we discussed. For this one, just put him up there, man. Just put him up there.
And I mean, his resume is S tier, no doubt about it. But I will also throw out there that Loudon Love is 6'9" and 280 pounds. And I'm not going to get on his bad side. So Loudon, congratulations. You're the GOAT. And good luck in France to Loudon Love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parker, it's on you, buddy.
This next, we'll do our final NBA guy that we have on this list, and that's Kay Felder.
Oh man,
from
the
Oakland Golden Grizzlies. Kay Felder is a guy who he played at Oakland, and he is ridiculously talented. I can't speak today or ever, but I really like Kay Felder. The guy, he's a smaller guy, but this guy can really play. He averaged 24 points in his only season at Oakland. The guy was really good. As far as ranking him. Starting to get hard, guys. I can't lie to you.
It really is.
Oh man. I'm gonna put him in between.
Come on, Parker, you got this.
I'll put him in between Adi and Jaylen Moore in B tier.
Oh. Okay. Really? Okay. By the way, Parker.
Because he was only there 1 year.
What stat sheet are you looking at?
I'm looking at the.
I thought he was there for longer.
Hey, Felder played 3 years at Oakland, my guy.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't have him much higher than you. I'm not going to lie. He averaged 9 points as a freshman, 18 as a sophomore, and 24 as a junior, and then went pro.
Why does it not show his
Shay, where do you have him at?
I have him at the bottom of A. And I...
Okay.
My
the very bottom?
Very bottom.
Okay.
My thought process on this, he never won a championship.
Okay.
He is undersized, 5'9", gifted scorer, also a really good passer, but he turned the ball over a lot. Averaged almost 4 turnovers a game in college. He also was not a great defender, and he also wasn't a great three-point shooter, only a career 34% three-point shooter. So he did have holes in his game compared to some of these other guys. So NBA player, really, really good scorer. Don't get me wrong, but he's going to be at the bottom of A tier for me just because wasn't a great defender, was limited offensively in the fact that he really couldn't shoot, and also turned the ball over a little bit too much for me to put him in S.
The reason I don't have him in S is, like you said, he has some holes in his game. I have him only one spot ahead of you. I have him between, is that Bryn and Quisenberry? Is that who that is? I have him one spot ahead of you in A tier.
Yeah, that's Bryn Forbes and Quisenberry ahead of him.
Okay, I have him right between those two, mainly because
that's very fair.
He wasn't just a good passer. He was one of the best ever in the Horizon League. Career assist leader for the Horizon League as of now. Could change in the next couple of years. But as of right now,
I thought you said could ching, not could change. I'm like, oh my goodness.
That could change in the next couple of years. But for right now, career assist leader in the Horizon League. That's why I've got him one step higher.
Mm-hmm. That's very
okay,
good.
Guys. I goofed. For some reason, the Oakland website did not show his first 2 years of statistics.
Oakland. See, this is why you don't trust the Oakland website.
But
some of the websites are really bad. Like when I'm researching for articles, Oakland has problems, and then I think it's Youngstown is iffy sometimes.
I will say though, if he's listening to this show, I don't know why he would be, but Nick Phillips, shout out to you. WSURaiders.com is one of the best of the best.
Hey, I always feel so good when I go to Right State's website to research articles. It is so easy to find stats. It is so easy.
Nick and formerly
is that Nick and Abby? Is that
Abby's no longer with Abby went to Coastal Carolina. She's no longer.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But Nick and formerly Abby, and I'm sure Nick and the new person that's assistant, but they do just a great job of sending out press releases, sending out roster sheets, sending out stat sheets. Parker, we're student radio at Wright State, and every time we show up there, they have stat sheets for both teams. They have rosters for both teams. They have starting lineups. They have game previews, what to watch out for. Nick and the athletic department do a really good job of taking care of people.
They make our lives so easy, and I love it. It's great.
They do. So I'm going to change my mind on K. Felder here. He's at the bottom of A for me.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fair. His junior year was ridiculous. He averaged almost 25 and 10.
Right. And that was the only year that they showed on Oakland's website for some reason.
And you were going to put him at the bottom of B? I don't care if he only played 1 year. He averaged 25 and 10.
Exactly. So, yeah. My bad. K. Felder, if you're listening to the show, my bad.
Oh, man. Why would K. Felder be listening to Keep It Real?
I don't know.
He's not. But if at some point down the road he is, I apologize.
Now the only person on this list that's listening to the show right now is Bill Wampler, and it's because he's mad at where I put him. All right. Well, Noah, the floor is yours. Who do you want to go with?
Let's do my least hated NKU player in Marquez Warwick.
My least hated NKU.
My least hated NKU player in Marquez.
What, did you have him in T instead of F?
No, I had him on the actual tier list instead of just leaving him off.
Wow, what a great guy. Good guy, Noah Kindig.
Yeah, I'm not a harsh grader at all, except for when it comes to NKU players.
And NKU deserves this. They deserve the disrespect. Hey, gang, now that fans are back in the Horizon League, I think WWSU's broadcast team should all make a trip. And Noah, you can come too. But I think we should have the media of Wright State make a trip up to Highland or down to Highland Heights and watch the game in enemy territory.
Oh, I'm going to the game. Yeah, I'm
going.
If I don't get press seats, I'm buying a ticket. It's that.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. There's nothing better than being the Wright State fan in a sea of gold and black and just giving them crap all game. Yeah. It's so fun.
Oh yeah.
Parker, you in?
I'm in. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Let's make NKU regret ever joining the Horizon League.
Are the games going to be Friday, Saturday like they have been past couple of years?
I don't know that for sure yet. I don't think they've announced it. I'd assume they're going to do a pretty similar theme of like Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday, Sunday, kind of those 5 dates, and they kind of scatter.
Yeah, but if it's a Saturday away game, we could take a weekend. We'll see.
Yeah. And if it's Friday night, I'll just get off work early.
Yeah.
Based on the volleyball schedule, I think they're gonna have midweek games.
Yeah, I think they are. But I guarantee you, NKU and Wright State both have a lot of championship expectations this year. I don't know when they play, but I guarantee you it's either a Friday or Saturday night game, and it's going to be on TV.
Okay.
It's got to be.
NKU Wright State's one of the best mid-major rivalries in all of college sports.
That it is.
And, it's back, baby. Fans are back. The Netter Center is going to be rocking. BB&T is going to be rocking. It's such a fun rivalry. I can't stand Northern Kentucky, and they can't stand Wright State. But I do have to admit it's a really fun rivalry with two really good basketball teams.
Yep.
It is.
Speaking of NKU, we should probably get back to Marquez Warwick today. I'm going to go... because I have to actually put him on the tier list, whatever. I will go, for now, we'll put him in the bottom of B tier. He had a really great freshman year, and I think we'll see a lot more of him as he develops more as a player. But for now, I think he's in the bottom of B tier.
I think that's
I'm with you.
Go ahead, Parker.
Okay, I'll go.
Go.
I think that's a good spot for him. I'm with you here, with Noah. I think this is a guy who has, all the talent in the world. He's a smaller guy at 6'2", 170, but, he's certainly talented. And I really like the way he plays with this team. He's, tremendously, he's a great passer. And then he obviously has talent, averaged 16 points a game last year, in his first season. So I'm really excited to see what he does.
I think the reason why we're not putting him
not only after that, not only after the year he had last year, but if he can continue to build on what he did last year, watch out.
I think the reason why we're not putting him with our other developing player for Wright State as Grant Basiley, I think the reason why we're not going to put him there is he had, I think, 7 freshmen, or like 6 or 7 freshman of the week awards this year. Like every week for men's basketball, like I was looking at freshman of the week. Every week he had one.
Didn't he also win like 2 or 3 player of the weeks?
He had player of the week, a couple freshman of the week, and he was freshman of the year, right?
Yeah,
for NKU.
Yeah. He was great.
So he had a great full year, as Grant Basiley had half a year where he was really great. Marquez Work had a really great full year, which I think is
I'm with both of you. I have him at the bottom of B as well. I have him ahead of Burke, behind DeAndre Golston. I don't think he's quite to Golston yet. I think let me put it this way. I put myself in a Wright State fan's perspective. Wright State's up 1 with 5 seconds left. I'm more comfortable with Warwick taking a shot for the win than I am with Golston. If Golston takes a shot, I'm sweating bullets.
Yeah.
Same thing if you want to talk about the guy who I'm scared about most, it's Antoine Davis. If Wright State's only up 1 or 2 and Antoine Davis takes a shot for the win, I'm running out of the arena with a heart attack. But I think I'm a little more comfortable with Warwick taking the last shot than Golston as of right now. Warwick's still very young, and I think he could definitely get to A tier, maybe even S tier. But I do have him over Burke because I think he's a better defender, and I think he's already really close in terms of scoring. I think Marquez Warwick is a superstar in the making. I think he's the next stud at Northern Kentucky. I think this is going to sound like I'm bashing Trayvon Faulkner, which I'm not trying to. Faulkner's still a really solid player, but they expected Faulkner to be a superstar, and he never really was a superstar. I think Warwick could end up being what they wanted Faulkner to be.
I think so. It just depends on what happens over the next couple of years. We'll see.
But yeah, I'm with you guys. Bottom of B tier for me for Marquez Warwick. All right. Well, let's get Northern Kentucky's GOAT out of the way. Drew McDonald. Guys, I know we hate this squad a lot, but he's S tier. There's no doubt about it. Drew McDonald, maybe the greatest winner in the history of the Horizon League. This guy just did everything. And now he's also, he was an unbelievable talent. He wasn't the most athletic guy in the world. He wasn't the most, he was a really consistent guy, but I'm trying to think, he wasn't just the most flashy guy in the world, but look at this, guys. Over his 4 years, 11 points per game as a freshman, 16 and 8 as a sophomore, 17 and 10 as a junior, 19 and 10 as a senior. And his shooting percentages got better every single year. He shot 40% from 3 as a senior. And, oh, by the way, he's also 3-time player of the year, 2-time champion. This guy was a winner, and this guy was the best player Northern Kentucky has ever had in terms of accomplishments. Drew McDonald, don't like NKU at all. But I have to give him credit where credit's due. I hated playing Northern Kentucky my first 2 years because Drew McDonald was good. He was the one player in this conference that could duel Loudon Love. He's really, really good. He's Northern Kentucky's GOAT for sure. 2 championships, 3 players of the year. And with those kind of averages and those kind of percentages, he's got to be an S tier.
It hurts to see an NKU player put up there, but yeah,
he's their GOAT, man. I got to give him credit.
He deserves it. Yeah, he deserves it. Put him up there. Bottom of S tier, though.
Parker, I see you trying to find a way to put him in A tier, and I respect it, but I don't think you're going to be able to do it.
I can't.
Put him in the bottom of S and leave it there. Put him in the bottom of S and just leave it there.
That's exactly what I've done.
He doesn't get to go any further. Just bottom of S.
Parker, any thoughts on Drew McDonald, or are you just going to kind of put him there?
Well, I can't say anything else that you guys haven't already said. He's the best player Northern Kentucky has ever had, and that's all I got.
Yeah. He, as much as it hurts me to say, because I think Loudon Love is, I still have Loudon Love at the top of the S tier on here. Loudon Love's the most dominant player in the Horizon League over the last 20 years. But Drew McDonald was basically Loudon Love that could shoot. He was. That was literally his game. And that's why Wright State struggled with Northern Kentucky until Drew McDonald graduated, because he made Loudon come outside the paint. And that was just a nightmare. So not only was he 6'8", not only was he great in the post, not only was he a great defender, great rebounder, not only could he score down low, he could also shoot threes. And that's deadly. And not to mention, like I said, the numbers are great, but we've talked about it, guys. A big factor in today's tier list is accolades. This is the most accomplished guy we're going to talk about all day. 3 Player of the Year awards. That's a record. 2 championships. That's not a record, but 2 titles in 4 years. Nothing to be ashamed of.
Not at all.
All right. Well, Parker, the floor is yours.
Well, one Parker places another Parker on this tier list.
Parker E. Let's go.
Parker E.
We're going to do Parker Ernstausen here. Now, I can't give a whole lot of insight to this because I never saw Parker Ernstausen play. Now, his statistics are interesting. This is getting hard, guys. I know I said that about 15 minutes ago, but it's
really getting hard now.
It's really tough.
It's really getting hard. I'm with you, Parker. This is every single decision now. It's like I can't find spots for them to go.
I'm going to put Parker at the top of C.
I'm with you, honestly. I'm with you.
Yeah, I think he wasn't a scorer by any means.
No.
He averaged 4.3 points a game over his career, and he was
a little bit better his senior year, but no, he was never a scorer. You're right.
No, he wasn't. And what the knock on him is, he wasn't a scorer. He's just a big body. They had a big body. The guy was 6'11" and 240. He was a big guy that you have down low. So I'm going to put him in C tier because his statistics weren't the best, but he's just a big guy to have in the middle to block shots and be a great defender.
I'm with you. I have him in the top of C as well. I actually have him behind Adi because I have Adi in my C tier, but he is ahead of Basiley. Ernstausen and Love were the Twin Towers before Basiley and Love made it cool. So Ernstausen and Love, I mean, the Wright State starting lineup was so nasty that year with Cole Gentry, Mark Hughes, Bill Wampler, Parker Ernstausen, and Loudon Love. Disgusting starting 5. And I know that, it's not much worse when you have Calvin, Finke, Holden, Basiley, and Love, but there was just something about that 2018 Raiders team. It was disgusting. But Parker was never Parker Ernstausen, not Parker U. Parker Ernstausen was never a scorer.
Shea, to be fair, I was never a scorer either.
Yeah, you weren't, but you also weren't a defender like Ernstausen was. So
that's also true.
One thing I will say, 2 things that I really like about Parker. Well, 3 things that I really like about Parker. Again, Ernstausen, not Testa. I don't like anything about Parker Testa.
Wow. Did a whole summer show with the guy.
I know.
So,
it's been like this every day this summer.
we go back and forth and roast each other every day.
Oh, okay.
That's how we survived the summer.
Yeah.
But Parker Ernstausen was one of the best leaders this team's ever had. Great senior captain. Great. If you ask Loudon Love, who took him under his wing, he'd say Parker Ernstausen. This guy was a great leader. This guy was an elite defender. Maybe the best defensive big Wright State has ever had. 3-time first team all defense. Every single time Wright State went up against Northern Kentucky, they didn't put Loudon Love on Drew McDonald. They put Parker E on Drew McDonald. They said, look, every single game, whether it was Drew McDonald in Northern Kentucky, whether it was Sandy Cohen and Green Bay, whether it was, Oakland and what was his name? His last name was Hayes. I can't remember, but he was Shatan Hayes or something like that, but he was a double-double machine. It was the same formula every single game. Mark Hughes defended the best guard. Parker Ernstausen defended the best forward. And it worked really, really well. Mark Hughes, Defensive Player of the Year. Parker Ernsthaus, First Team All Defense. I mean, these two guys were elite defenders. Parker was a great defender. Parker was a great leader. And I will say that he wasn't a scorer, but when he scored, he was clutch. One game, his senior season, Wright State, Northern Kentucky at the Netter Center. Wright State won that game 83-79. It was one of the greatest basketball games I've ever seen in my life. Back and forth the whole night. Tyler Sharp was great. Bill Wampler was great. Loudon Love was great, but who was really great? Parker Ernsthaus hit 3 enormous threes to get Wright State back in that game late and ended that game with like 19 points. So he's not a scorer, but when he scores, my man's clutch. So I got Parker at the top of C, but I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that Parker E is a really, really solid Raider.
Yeah, he's got a pretty big hole in his game, which is shooting, but as you pointed out, he can't shoot. I've got a middle of C tier, almost high C as well, mainly because he started 35 games. Every game for Wright State his senior year he started, and he was Grant Basiley and Loudon Love before, I guess it was cool, is a good way, as you put it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Noah, we got, how many we got left? We got 6 left. So, Noah, we will have you have 2. We all have 2 more picks. So, Noah, you're first of your final 2 picks.
You brought him up a couple minutes ago, right? Let's go with Cole Gentry, another Raider
Cole Gentry
from that era.
This one is really, really hard for me because I'm a huge Cole Gentry fan. Parker, we've talked about the new roster with Keaton Norris. I think he's a spitting image of Cole Gentry. But Cole was the best player in the Horizon League at running an offense to perfection. Never turned the ball over. Always made the right play. Always was in the right spot. Always hustled. Always was there for the team. This was just your perfect point guard. Was not an elite scorer. Was not an elite defender. Maybe the fastest player in college basketball. I will say that. And maybe the greatest free throw shooter in college basketball. I think he shot 94% his senior season. Cole is he did a lot of things really, really well. But compared to a lot of other guys on this list, I can't put him any higher than B. And I'm going to put him in between Warwick and Golston because I think he has a stronger resume than Warwick for now. And I think he contributed more to Wright State's success than Warwick has to Northern Kentucky's success so far. But as much as I love Cole Gentry, as much as I think he's one of the greatest point guards in Wright State history, he couldn't take over a game like DeAndre Golston can.
I'm with you. I'm going to put him in B. Just like Shea did. I think he's, certainly one of the better players that Wright State's seen in the last 5 or so years. But, just couldn't, like you talked about, Shea. Just couldn't really score the ball, as efficiently as some of these other guys.
Yeah, I've got him in the same spot as well. I think putting him above Parker E is a good spot for him, and above Marquez Warwick with a bit more experience under his belt, I think is a great spot for him.
All right, well, it's back to me, I guess. So,
yeah, it's your pick.
Fellas, I think we should make a pact right here, okay?
Oh, no. I don't like where this is going.
Let's save Benzinger for the last one.
Okay. Is
that cool?
Okay.
Works.
Okay. So I'm going to go with Dantez Walton. Dantez Walton was a weird case. He was an average player until his last year, and then I thought he was going to win Horizon League Player of the Year. It was weird. Okay, so let me read off his stats to you guys, okay? This was a guy, I'll take you through this. His first year at Northern Kentucky, he averaged 4 points a game. He only played 10 minutes a game, so it's not really his fault. His second year averaged 5 points a game. His third year, he averaged 11 points a game. His fourth year, out of nowhere, averaged 16, 8, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. My man turned into Dantez Walton's senior year was like DeAndre Ayton in the playoffs last year. He just went from meh to God tier overnight. And that he made that Northern Kentucky team deadly that year. We knew Sharp was going to be good. We knew Tate was going to be good. Dantez Walton came out of nowhere and made Northern Kentucky have a big 3. And that was tough. That was really tough. It became, Gentry, Wampler, and Love versus Walton, Tate, and Sharp. And not going to lie, more times than not, Walton, Tate, and Sharp won that battle. So Dantez Walton for me, I'm going to put in B. I'm going to put him right behind Cole because I think his senior season was better than anything Cole had ever done. But I'm going to give Cole the nod because Cole was more consistent and Cole was more impactful over 4 years than Walton was. Walton was really a bench player until his senior season. And his senior season was first team all conference caliber. But I'm going to go with the guy that was good for 4 years over the guy that was great for 1.
For me, I have it flip-flopped.
Okay.
I have Walton just ahead of Cole. Because he put up tremendous stats in his senior year, like you said, but he did it in 21 games.
He did.
It's unbelievable. I mean, his junior season played 35 games, had 11, he averaged 11 points, as well as 5.5 rebounds and 2.7 assists. But his senior season didn't have as many assists, but he averaged 16 points, with 7 rebounds and just under 2 assists. So the guy was unbelievable and did it in less games than most people.
I said it earlier today. I love an all-around player. I've got him in B as well. I've got him actually. I think I've got him ahead of Moore on my list. I've got him pretty high up there on B. Mainly because he was a really good all-around player. Even in his junior year when he wasn't that great of a shooter, he was still pretty solid on rebounds and shooting in general, so he was always a good player off the bench to have. That's mainly why I've got him up there.
That's very fair.
He was good for basically like 1.5 years in my book.
Guys, if we're ranking based off of individual seasons, Dantez Walton's senior year is very high A tier, almost S tier. That's just he was really good that senior year, and I don't want it to sound like I don't think it was a good senior year. If Loudon Love didn't exist, he would have been Horizon League Player of the Year.
Yeah, he would have. He really would have. The guy's, unbelievable.
Okay, so I went with Walton. Parker, it is your second to last pick, and then it's all of our final picks.
Let's do our final IUPUI Jaguar, and that's Jalen Minnett. Okay. So this guy's an interesting case because he averaged 12 points, over the course of his career at IUPUI, had 1,400 total points, in his career, averaged 2 rebounds with 2 assists. The guy was just, really one of the more consistent players that IUPUI has had in a while. It's going to be another one. I know it's a typical it's a common theme on this show, Noah, that whenever we do a tier list, there is so many more B tier, players or whatever we're doing. There's so many more B tier than anything else.
Well, I think that's kind of how a tier list is supposed to work. I feel like it's like a bell curve in a way.
Right, and that's where Jalen Minnett's going to be for me. The question is where?
Where on the bell curve?
Where on that B tier is he?
I feel like he's in your bottom half of the bell curve, honestly.
My question to you, Parker, and I'm not going to say you're wrong. I just want to hear your explanation. In what way do you think that Jalen Minnett is better than Marcus Burke?
I don't think he is at all.
I'm with you, Noah. I think that they're both very similar players and that they're scorers and not much else. The difference,
but Marcus Burke just had better numbers than Jalen Minnett.
The difference for me is Burke is a better scorer and more consistent.
Yeah, he just had better numbers overall.
I have him just behind Burke in B tier.
Okay.
Yeah, but Burke and Minnett were the players to worry about for IUPUI, and it was because Burke was more of a worry because he was more consistent and he scored more points.
I'm a little meaner to Jalen Minnett. He's going to be my lowest ranked player that we've done so far. I'm going to have him at the bottom of C.
Okay.
Really? I think he was way too inconsistent for me to put him over some of these guys.
He had a really rough game against Wright State. He had a good game because
his last 3 games against Wright State in his career, he shot a combined 24% from the field.
Yeah.
Wright State never had to worry about Jalen Minnett.
We didn't have to worry about it. Friday and Saturday, that series game that we played against IUPUI, I thought that we had to be worried about Burke and Minnett just didn't show up on that.
My thought process, gentlemen. Yes, I totally agree with you that I think Jalen Minnett has the talent and the skill to score 30 points any given night. Totally with you. The problem is I never saw him score 30 against Wright State or in any big game.
Yeah.
When he dropped 30, he did it against, like freaking Robert Morris on a Saturday afternoon or whatever, and it didn't mean anything. So my thought process is just looking at the guys in C tier, because I was going to put him at the top of C tier, but here's my thought process. Marcus Otte had a very strong career, and he knocked off Wright State in the Horizon League tournament with a really good game. Can't put him over Marcus Otte. You move on to Parker Ernsthausen. Parker Ernsthausen's a 3-time Horizon League first-team All-Defender and won a championship. I can't put him over Parker E. That moves us to our final player on this list, which is Grant Basiley. Now, Grant Basiley is one of the youngest players on this list in terms of inexperience. But Grant Basiley's already gotten a second-team All-Conference, which Jalen Minnett never got. And Grant Basiley is being talked about as Horizon League Player of the Year right now. When Jalen Minnett, we knew Jalen Minnett was good. We never, ever talked about him being Horizon League Player of the Year. So I got to put him behind Basiley as well. I think Basiley's just a better basketball player.
Yeah. We saw players drop 30. We saw Amari Davis. We saw other players drop 30. We saw DeAndre Golston drop 30. Minnett could have, but he never did.
There's a dozen guys in the Horizon League that could drop 30 any given night. And almost all of those dozen do it more consistently than Jalen Minnett.
Yeah. Good point.
So, okay, this is your final pick, Noah. I'm sorry.
Is that Torrey Patton?
Yep, we have Torrey Patton.
We skipped the Dayton kid? Really? Oh my.
Our final three players, for those of you that are listening on the radio and don't see it on YouTube, our final three players are Torrey Patton, Trayvon Faulkner, and Grant Benzinger, I'm sorry.
We really skipped over the Dayton kid. We really skipped over the Dayton kid. Wow.
Well, we knocked out Quiz and Amari pretty fast, but we left off the reigning champ.
Yeah, we got to get the reigning champion here. Let's do Torrey Patton.
All right. Well, what are your thoughts on Torrey? Noah, we'll let you go first.
To be honest with you, the biggest strength of this Cleveland State team this year was consistency. The only time that we saw them really break that consistency was in 2 games, and that was against IPFW and against Wright State when Wright State beat them by 36. And I think the only time that happened was when Torrey Patton wasn't as good of a leader on the court as he should have been. The reason that I think Cleveland State was so secure in the way that they played was I think Torrey Patton's leadership. And because of that, I put him high B tier.
Yeah, and okay. Now I will say that man. First of all, Wright State played very ticked off in that game. And
they did.
We talked about it on the Raider Sports podcast last year, gentlemen. When Wright State plays ticked off, not only do I think they're by far the best team in this conference, I think they're a top 25 team in Division I. And I'll die on that hill. But Torrey Patton, we learned a lot about Torrey Patton last year. We learned that he is what Darius Quisenberry is to Youngstown. When Torrey Patton's not on the floor or not playing at his best, Cleveland State's a very mediocre, average team that's very beatable. When Torrey Patton is playing at his best, they're the Horizon League champions. So for me, maybe this is a little higher than you guys have him. Torrey Patton is going right behind Tyler Sharp at the top of B. I think this guy's a winner. He's done it since high school. Won a state championship, went to college, won a Horizon League championship. This guy's a winner. This guy's a leader. And this guy's just gotten better and better every single year at Cleveland State. I'm not looking forward to facing him this year because I think he's going to be first team all conference. He's been good.
That spot's just fine with me. His consistency and his leadership for Cleveland State is why they won this year, why they got to play against Houston in the NCAA tournament. Cleveland State was incredibly consistent throughout the whole year, and Patton was a big part of that.
For me, I have him as my second guy in B tier behind Torcus. Okay. So, I'm sorry, behind
Sharp.
Who the heck is that?
Is that Sharp?
That is Sharp. Actually, no, it's not.
What's the jersey, Parker?
It's UIC. It's one of the It's Otte.
Okay.
I can't read my own handwriting. Wow. But He's behind Audie in B tier for me. If he has another year like he did last year, he'll be an A tier. The guy is really good, but of course they're the reigning champs, and they're a team that I'm going to be looking out for this season. But we'll see what they do. But for right now, he's in B tier for me.
All right. Well, we agreed to do. Benzinger last, so that leaves me with Trayvon Faulconer. Trayvon Faulconer is a good player, don't get me wrong. But like I mentioned earlier, this guy was supposed to be, the next Tyler Sharp, a more athletic Tyler Sharp. This guy was supposed to be a superstar. And he's been a star, but I think we're all in agreement here that we don't like NKU, but Trayvon Faulconer is not a superstar. He's a star, but he's not a superstar. And he was expected to be a superstar. He averaged 17, 5, and 3 last year, which is really good numbers. But he hasn't won anything while he was at NKU. Okay, that's technically wrong. He won a championship his freshman year, but he came off the bench. He didn't do anything for that. Since he's been a key player on this team, they haven't won. He is an all-conference caliber player, but I don't think he's as impactful as some of these other guys on this list, like Torrey Patton, like Darius Quisenberry, like Tanner Holden even. I think Tanner Holden means more to Wright State than Faulkner means to NKU. So for me, Faulkner has got to go in B because I think he's too good to leave out of B. I think I'm going to put him right here behind Bohannon. I think he's more talented than guys like Lucas and Wampler. I know, Bill, you hate me. I know that. But see, I have Holden down here. I'm going to do something, fellas. I'm moving Holden up here, and we're going to do that.
Fine with me. Yeah.
Holden is a better basketball player than Trayvon Faulconer, but I think Faulkner deserves to be higher than Lucas and Wampler. So I'm going to do that. We're going to do
as long as we keep my 1,000 rebound all around player up there. I'm not
going to argue with you on that. I'm a huge Naz Bohannon fan, so I think Naz Bohannon's pretty safe right there. Parker, your thoughts on Trayvon Faulconer?
He's in B for me also. I have him in a very similar spot than you do. I think he's a better player than Wampler, and Lucas. There are different points in their careers, but I think when it's all said and done, I think Faulkner will have the better career.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, final player. This has been fun. It's been an hour and 40 minutes, gentlemen.
Woo!
We spent 100 minutes talking about 30 of the greatest players in Horizon League basketball history. I knew it'd be fun going in, but it is delivered and then some. This has been an absolute blast. And Parker, I think we're in agreement. This has been one of the best shows of the summer.
It has. I mean, I've had more. We've never spent an hour and 40 minutes on a tier list. Never. And this one has been the most fun I think we've had, all summer long. So we'll find something.
And we've done some really good tier lists. Ice cream flavors with your brother Casey and Morgan Mulcahy. We've done Adam Sandler movies. We've done Hall of Fame running backs. We've done MLB managers.
Yeah.
Considering we didn't do a tier list until about 3 weeks into the summer, the tier lists have been a really fun addition to the show.
They have. They've been a lot of fun. There's been some really good ones, and I think we'll round out this show talking about the Field of Dreams game because it was wild.
It was really fun.
And
I'm so glad that the Yankees lost.
Oh, so glad. Thank you for
Zach Britton. Love you, baby. Way to give up that bomb.
Aaron Boone and Tim Anderson, I love you for making the Yankees lose.
Yankees fans are about to shove Boone and Cashman through a combine and leave them in the cornfield out in Iowa.
So Tim Anderson, thank you for beating the Yankees in a cornfield in the middle of Iowa, in the middle of August. But
love you,
it's. Yeah, but we'll talk about that in after this tier list. Benzinger is interesting for me.
Now, I will say before we get into Grant's basketball career, he's also the son of Todd Benzinger, who was the first baseman for the Reds, who made the final out of the 1990 World Series. So there you go. His dad is a Reds World Series champion. Let's go, because that's the last ever good Reds team. So we got to acknowledge him.
It couldn't be another keep it real without Shea mentioning the Reds.
Parker, they won 12-3 today. What am I supposed to talk about?
We made it an hour and 40-something minutes, and the Reds were mentioned. I'm honestly proud of you that it took this long.
He's getting better. Yeah, he's getting better.
You're way too sarcastic. I don't like you. Just shut up and talk about Grant Benzinger.
But this is, man, I didn't think the hardest one would be the last one.
I know.
I really didn't. I think I'm gonna put him ahead of. He's gonna be B tier.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna put him. Man, I'll put him ahead of.
I already know you guys are gonna think I'm biased for where I'm putting him.
Man, I'm gonna put him ahead between Warwick and Walton.
Warwick and Walton, okay. No, I'll let you go first because my opinion is going to be a very, very hot take that Parker's going to want to yell at. So I should.
We'll see. I'm very biased, and I see a B category that needs one more for a perfect 2 rows, and I don't want perfect 2 rows, so put him in A tier. Put my boy in A tier.
My man, I like you, Noah.
Put my boy in A tier.
Let's go. I like it. Noah, I was going to do the same thing as you.
Hey, let's go.
Grant does not have A tier numbers. I'll give you that. He averaged 9 as a freshman, 8 as a sophomore, 13 as a junior.
I mean, 1,400 career points is pretty good.
It's not. It is good. But
a lot of other guys here have career points like that. But having 500 rebounds on top of that, it's pretty good.
His best season was 14 points a game, about 40% from the field. He was a good 3-point shooter, and he was a good rebounder and a strong defender. But he never put up player of the year numbers. Why I have him in A tier is because I'm a biased Wright State fan. Grant Benzinger was the captain and leader of the first Wright State basketball team that won a championship in 11 years. And that's why he's in A tier. He was the first player in over a decade to win a ring, and he was the captain of that team. Loudon Love may have been the best player on that team. Grant was the captain of that team. And for that, he sneaks into A tier right at the bottom, because he was the captain of the first championship Wright State team since 2007.
Okay. You just said the word 11 years. 11 is the same number of points that he averaged over his career.
Oh, my God.
The guy averaged 11 points a game over the course of his career, 4 rebounds, 1 assist in his career.
Parker, how many games did he play for Wright State?
I don't know, a lot.
He played 120 games for Wright State. He played 30-plus games for 4 years. He played 30-plus games.
I have the same answer that Parker gave. Noah, how many times has Parker Testa wrong on the show? I don't know, a lot.
That's what this show is. I've been wrong all summer. I said the Bengals are going to win 12 games. I know they're not. I know the Bengals aren't going to win 12 games.
I literally said in my argument, it's not A tier numbers, but it's an A tier resume because he was captain of the first championship team in a decade.
I understand that.
I mean, he has pretty good number. He played almost 4,000 minutes of basketball for Wright State. 4,000 minutes of basketball.
And his dad's got a ring, too.
For baseball.
For the Reds.
Hey, so listen to me right here, okay? Noah said he's played almost 4,000 minutes of basketball.
He averaged 29 minutes a game for Wright State for 4 years.
This is how many points he averaged over his career. And almost 4,000 minutes.
This is all of Parker Testa's takes this summer. L. You lose.
I've been wrong all summer. I said the Bengals are going to win.
And you're wrong again here.
I know they're not going to win 12 games. I'm going to get roasted on Twitter. That's okay. I'm wrong all the time.
But I'll die on this hill. That's okay. I'll die on this hill.
Now,
if I'm the only one who thinks this, I'm okay with that. I'm in the minority.
It sounds like we're not going to find a common ground here. I believe that Grant Benzinger has the resume to be an A tier because, he's kind of the most important player in the last 15 years of Wright State basketball. But if you think averaging 11 points per game is more important than a ring, be my guest.
Or just playing 30 plus games for a team for 4 years. Guy's a leader. Guys put in minutes, guys put in time.
Well, gentlemen, this was fun. It ended a little hostile, but it was fun.
I've gotten my screaming out. Happy Friday.
Well, that was a good last one. I like
that.
Hey, nobody's in the D tier. Nobody's gonna want to kill us.
I
Nobody's
didn't think I'd put anybody in D tier if I'm being.
I mean, I had NKU players in there.
That's fair.
Whatever.
That's fair.
I was gonna ask you.
Every NKU player in D tier, and Tyler Sharp gets his own tier of worst player of all time.
Yeah, I was gonna ask to just rename the D tier to NKU and just kind of put them all in there.
Tyler Sharp's friends.
Yeah.
Now that's perfect for the next year's Horizon League basketball tier list. It's going to be S, A, B, C, and Tyler Sharp's friends.
Yeah.
And we'll invite Tyler Sharp on the show.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he'd love to come.
Oh, I know he'd love to come.
After this, he'd love to come on.
As long as we're on Sirius XM and he can say some words that the FCC wouldn't approve.
Oh my god. Oh Lord.
Might have to be a YouTube only day, Parker, if Tyler's going to be on the show.
Yeah. Honestly. This was really fun. I did not think that this was going to be as fun as it was.
I did not think the biggest argument of the day would be over Grant Benzinger.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't either. And I didn't think I would yell about Grant Benzinger
right?
for as
I did
long
not.
as
I did not wake up today thinking, you know what? I feel a rant coming on about Grant Benzinger.
If I was going to rant about anything today, I would have guessed it would probably be, I don't know, Carson Wentz's foot.
I thought I was going to argue with you guys longer about Naz Bohannon.
Yeah, if I was going to scream about him. If I was going to scream about anything, it'd probably be Carson Wentz's foot, Angel Hernandez, something. I don't know. Not Grant Benzinger, but that's the way it works out.
Yep, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. No, this has been a blast, and we have about 10 minutes left of the show. And really, we're not going to get through 12 college football teams in 12 minutes, so that's not happening. Not with the type of analysis that we want to give. Marshall was led by blah, blah, blah. Here's their schedule. All right, move on now. No, we're not doing that. So we have 3 college. So it's going to be a football packed week next week in studio, Parker. Conference USA, SEC, Big Ten, and our fantasy football mock draft.
It's going to be.
We're going to have a football segment every single day.
We will. We're doing no show Monday next week, but we have
preseason games to talk about.
Right. Yeah. So we have, I'm sure we'll throw in baseball because we find a way to work baseball into every show. Football packed week next week, like you said, fantasy football, SEC, Big Ten, we have the CUSA as well. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is. But how about tonight's Field of Dreams game? That was just, now let me tell you, the game was great and we'll get into the game, but just to see all the players come out in those jerseys out of the cornfield, so cool. It's so cool.
I got the chills watching that. I mean,
Parker, help me finish the quote here really quick, Parker. Is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
Yes, sir. But Iowa was top of the world tonight.
I am already seeing this headline with Tim Anderson's face on it. If you build it, he will walk it off.
Oh my goodness, what a headline. I love it. That should be the headline of The Guardian tomorrow. Noah, make it happen.
I'm not writing articles yet. We start writing articles next week.
Fine, I'll text
Noah, if you have an article, this is the headline.
Okay.
If you build it, he will say a dumb take, and it's my face.
No, okay. Parker, you got to make a corn joke for this headline. So it's going to be, if they build it, he will stalk it off.
Too many puns.
Stop.
Hey, send an email to Mackenzie. I'm sure she'll
That might be
a
the
headline
worst
on there
one.
for
You
you.
know what? I'm not a betting man, but I'm willing to bet that Mackenzie does not want to write a story about sports.
Yeah,
I think that's
Yeah.
your job, buddy.
that's my job. Well, she was she was a sports reporter for a year or 2
Not
years,
by
maybe.
choice, she wasn't.
Not by choice. Yeah, not by choice.
She was because she slid into Sarah Cavender's Facebook DMs. Oh man, that's a great story though, and I highly recommend listening to that episode of The Perspective if you want to hear how Mackenzie Heffernan got into sports.
Yes, that was it. That was
The only ever time she will ever be in sports. I will say though, she was working on an article about the fall sports schedule that came out, and she said she spent like 2 hours trying to pull up all that information about all the sports schedules, and I'm like, you should have just texted me. Parker has a spreadsheet with literally every single game, and she's like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yep. Well, you see, this was your biggest downfall. The two faces of WWSU are a couple of sports nerds, and you didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So you win some, you lose some, but that wasn't, the finest moment there.
Yeah. Well, we're getting started back up next week, so I'll start writing 2 articles a week-ish next week. So
And here's hoping that the Raider Sports Podcast comes back next week as well.
Here's hoping, yeah. I should be available, but
I should be too, and I'm hoping that we get a guest in because obviously you're great, Noah, but a guest would be 100 times more entertaining than me. So
yeah.
You weren't supposed to say yeah. You were supposed to say you're okay, O'Shea.
Well, you said I'm great, so I just say yeah, and we just move on. It's fine.
That's fair.
We're gonna quote the Field of Dreams again with a radio pun.
Okay.
If you record it, they will listen.
That's not true because nobody listens to our show.
That's fair.
If you record it, they will think you're an idiot. That's more us.
Yeah.
Noah agrees again.
Noah doesn't get the concept of this show. We just scream at each other for 2 hours.
I was gonna say I think
Noah
Noah thinks that we're just like very upset with each other tonight, and that we're just trying to one up each other. This is how it's been for 3 months.
Man, I write articles. Like I sit on my computer for hours going through sports stats. I don't know what this is.
Considering you're not a radio person and you're a writer, you actually do really, really well on the radio, and I'll give you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
So you have a fallback option in case your writing career doesn't take off.
I do have the face for both a writing career and a radio career.
Yeah, you see, we all have in common. We all maybe a little bit different in terms of our comfort on air, but we all have faces for radio.
We all have faces for radio. This is true.
Let me tell you, Parker, if you're pretty, they put you on TV.
There's a reason we're not on TV.
Noah, for the first exhibition volleyball match next Saturday, if our good friend Scotty Kramer can't broadcast with us, we've been more than happy to have you along.
Sure, I'd love to be there.
I will be there.
You said next Saturday?
Needs a friend. Yeah.
The 21st.
I'll go for it.
Yes, I'd love to have somebody to talk to that's not, Pat back in the studio.
Yeah.
Hey, man, when this show's airing, Pat's going to be in the office hearing this. You didn't have to insult him like that.
Well, he insulted me by writing not nice things on my whiteboard.
Okay, that's fair. He does.
What did he write? Wait, what? What did you write on your whiteboard?
Noble's more like Noble loser.
He kind of insulted my hometown on the whiteboard. So
wow,
a little bit of payback for Pat there.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, Pat is like the most. It's very subtle humor, but he's like one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life.
I love subtle humor so much.
It's funny, Parker, because 2 people on our staff have completely opposite sense of humor, but they're both funny. Where you have Bella, who's just constantly just so unbelievably elevating everything to a new level in terms of humor. And then you have Pat, who's more behind the scenes and he'll catch you by surprise. But when he catches you, oh boy, does he catch you.
So Noah, for example, one of our first shows this summer, I was going off about my Dodgers because this is when they were below 500 and they sucked. Me and Shay were going back and forth about our favorite teams.
Apparently they're great now. So.
They're okay.
Yes, they are. They
beat them in the playoffs.
They're the best. They're the best team in the world now. I mean,
I'm not going to acknowledge what Shea just said. But what happened was we were talking about our favorite teams, and Shea said Reds, Bengals. And I said, can you get any more miserable? And Shea goes, without hesitation, no. And then from the other room in his office, Pat yells into the studio while we were live on air, unless he was a Browns fan. And Shea responds with, I'd be satisfied with that. They just beat up on Pittsburgh.
Oh, they did. They did, yeah.
And I will also.
But that's their best year in like
30, 50 years, yeah.
This century, maybe?
Facts. No, Parker, and I will say, like 2 weeks later, Parker and I were watching Brewers and Cubs, and the Cubs were beating the Brewers like 16-0 in the fourth inning. It was brutal. We go in to do the show, and it's like, okay, it's 16-0 between two teams I don't care about. Who cares? Pat comes in while we're on air and says, the Brewers scored! And then he comes back 5 minutes later and goes, the Brewers scored again! And then Parker and I just look at each other and we're like, don't call it a comeback. It's 16-2.
Oh, my God.
It was like 2 solo home runs or something like that. And Pat is so excited that the Brewers scored.
It's 16-1, and Pat's just going crazy. Let's go. Here come the Brewers.
Oh, man.
Oh.
I don't think the Brewers have lost a game since that day, Parker.
Oh, man.
What a show. What an ending, but what a show.
Fun time.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen, before we put a bow on this week? And the final recorded show of Keep It Real, Parker, will be in studio all week next week.
Noah, you go ahead.
Thank you guys for having me on. This was a lot of fun. I wasn't doing anything tonight, so I mean, hey, I'm happy to stop by, have some fun, and I guess I'll see you guys for volleyball next week.
That's every guest that we've ever had on this show. I wasn't really doing anything else, so I came on.
But yes, but this was a lot of fun. So I'm glad I had time to come here. This is great.
No,
this is what people expect out of this show. They're like, I mean, I don't really want to do this, but I'll try it, and then they end up having fun. So
Morgan in a nutshell, yep.
Yeah. So, like Shea said, our last pre-recorded show of the summer. We know we're live all of next week. Except for Monday. But we will be live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with lots of football talk. We'll talk baseball, Wright State, across the board, whatever you want to, let us know what you want to see. But excited to get back to the live studio shows next week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And congratulations to Tim Anderson and the White Sox. The walk-off into the corn stalk. How cool is that?
Watch.
We'll hit him with the David Ortiz on the way out, Parker. Duh! Yankees lose. Oh, man.
He looks so disappointed.
Well, happy Friday, everybody. That's a heck of an ending.
Oh, man. It's still not as good as your guitar playing going, "Arr."
Do you want me to do it?
Wait, it's the end of the week, Marker. Send him out with a bang. Well, really quick.
The end of the recorded shows.
Noah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all so much for listening. We had an absolute blast. Parker, send us back to the studio in style, baby.
Happy Friday, everybody. Arr, 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 arr.
We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Keep it real.